It is the 41st millennium. Mankind battles for survival across the universe, besieged on all fronts by the heretic, the mutant, and the alien. In the grim darkness of the far future, there is only war. One faction of Space Marines stands amidst the chaos, the mightiest of the Emperor's warriors, and a beacon of light in the darkness. This legion, the 9th Legion of Adeptus Astartes, the Blood Angels.
Hello, good evening. We are back. Like the damn stream. Press the button. Do the thing. Good afternoon, brothers. I know it's been a couple of weeks since we did an Army List show, so I think we've got a mix, hopefully. I know we've definitely got a 1,000-point list in there, so for the next hour or so we will be jumping into community-submitted Army lists. We try and do this every Sunday night about 8 PM. So that's what we've got going tonight. Hello everybody in chat. Quay, Chad, nice to see you guys. Limekiller, Gar Tenzing, Barton, Carvo, Adam, Conman, Zach, Marius, Alex, Chase, Brandon, Smash Captain, everybody's in the house. Ryan, liked the stream half an hour ago, John. There you go, Ryan. What a legend you are. Good evening, everybody. Who did I miss? Did I say hello to everybody? Michael, Aradine, Mike Paints Red. I think I said hello to everybody. So, hello. Thanks for being here. I do appreciate it. It wouldn't be an Army List show on Sunday nights if you guys didn't show up. Hello, Linus. So, let's get into it. And let's see what the first list is for tonight. And I should probably preface this. If you want your list in the Army List show, it's pretty simple. At the end of the stream, you just put your list, like export out the Games Workshop app as like a text, and just put it in the comments to any YouTube video, but this one's good, right? Like, this one makes it nice and easy for me to find it. And then we can get you on a future Army List show. You guys can see the chat. Okay, let me press my chat button, because I think at the moment you are seeing my chat. Yeah, so let's put the full chat on the screen. Cool. Alright, let's get into it. Let me think. We ready to start? I think we're ready to start. Obviously there's a balanced slate this week, so some lists might have their points plus or minus 10 here or there. So I guess if I don't catch them, please shout at me in the chat and we will we'll try and fix them. So the very first list tonight. And of course, did I not write down who this was? I'm convinced this was Patreon and this was Limekiller, right? You can submit your list over on Patreon as well if you send it to me in a DM. Let me just double check. I think this was Limekiller. Yeah, I think so. Yes. Okay. So cool. First list. It is Blood Angels, obviously. It is Angelic Inheritors, which is possibly more meta than Liberator Assault Group at the moment. Let's see. So we got Dante the Sanguinar. Kind of auto-includes almost. 2 captains, again, kind of auto-includes. Blazing Icon means no Overwatch. Correct? I'm just going to bring up Angelic Inheritors. 20 points. Yeah, so one, I imagine he's got 1 unit of Sangre Guard that are going to be immune to Overwatch. Here. A Judasar. A Librarian. And the Combi Weapon Librarian with the Comeback to Life and a 2-up. So this other enhancement on the other Judasar, I believe, is to give him 6-inch scout move. So the interesting thing with the 6-inch scout move is, I guess if you attach like Blade Guard or something to this Judasar and then put them in an Impulsor, the transport gets the 6-inch scout move as well. But you might not even have done that. You might have just taken that just to get a 6-inch scout move on Blade Guard, try and get them into the middle of the board. Cool. So, quite a lot of characters, but this detachment benefits a lot from lots of characters attached to units. So let's see what we've got. We've got the 6 Blade Guard. They will obviously be with the Judasar. with a 6-inch scout move. You've got a squad of Devastators with las cannons. They will most likely be with the Librarian to give them the 4-up invuln save. You've got a squad of Infiltrators. You should probably have 3 squads of 3 Sangway Guard. Captain Dante makes sense. Scouts, Vindicator, and Impulsor. So this is very... I was going to say, this is not very meta, but this is somewhat standard for Angelic Inheritors, right? Like, the number of units is an interesting question, I guess. Like, 4, 7, 10, and then you've got, like, 2 lone operatives. So I think you've got 12 distinct units here. Is that right? Outline, thanks so much for subscribing. I appreciate it. So we've got 4, 7, 10... Yeah, so 12 distinct units for me I find is quite difficult to play, right? I guess you've got a less amount of distinct units because you spent like 65 points on enhancements, and the Devastator squads plus the scouts attached are actually kind of expensive. Devastator squad with the Librarian attached is like 185 points, so it is essentially the same price as another Vindicator tank. I don't know if I take las cannon Devastators with a invuln save over another Vindicator tank. So I played the las cannon Devastators one time. I find them very difficult to use. They only hit on 4s. Sure, they're going to reroll 1s, but they don't have great movement. 6-inch movement. It's hard to make them stand still, so it's hard to get the +1 to hit from heavy. Yes, there's that sort of quirky thing where you can like, what is it you can do? You can use their stratagem to get the. You can use their stratagem to get 1 dice to pop a 6, which means you can do a sustained hit strat on them and guarantee 1 sustained attack. But yeah, I think. I found them very difficult to use, las cannon Devastators. I would not use them again. After playing them one time, I was just like, I would rather just run a Ballistus Dreadnought. I feel like they pretty much do the same damage, and the Ballistus Dreadnought is very easy to use. You can move it around, it moves further, it's more survivable. I find las cannon Devastators difficult. Everything else in the list kind of makes sense. I haven't really seen anyone play 6 Blade Guard in Angelic Host yet. So I don't know what that looks like. I am trying Blade Guard this week in a 3-man squad, but I haven't tried this 6. But I mean, 6 Blade Guard have come down to 160 points, so that is something cool. Alex is just dropping in to say hi, hopes your daughter doing well. Thanks for the great community. Yeah, you're welcome, Alex. Thanks for dropping past. The Judisaur wouldn't give the Blade Guard, as the rule says every model should have the Scout keyword. No, I believe they've changed it, so if the character is attached to the unit, and then it'll be, what does it say? Models in this bearer unit have the Scout's ability, right? So basically, like, you give it to the Judisaur only, but all models in his unit now have Scout 6. So, you do get the Scout move. So the Scout and Judisaur is cool, I guess. The las cannon Devastators I find kind of hard to play personally. I would rather just have another tank. And then everything else seems pretty solid in... What's this attachment called again? Sorry. Inheritors. I guess the only other question I have is 12 units feels like a low number of units. Right, like the second you pull a secondary, and like sometimes you do pull, like if you get secondary where it's like doing what's the the secondary, like you get that one that requires you to do 2 board edges, so that's 2 units that have to do actions. But you sometimes get that one that requires a unit in your deployment zone, no man's land, and they're easy to do action. So suddenly you've got 3 units out of the battle doing actions. So if you ever pull some bad secondaries where you have to do like 4 or 5 actions in a turn, a list with only 12 distinct units struggles to do that. I've been trying to aim for 14. And I guess in this list, the way you would try and fix that Could be the Devastators, could be making the Blade Guard smaller, could be losing an enhancement or two. I think if I wanted to play exactly what you have here, I think what I would probably do is I would lose the Devastators and the las cannons. I would take a Ballistus Dreadnought. That would save me like 45 points. I'd probably lose like 2 of these enhancements. Then I'd have 85 points. And then at that point, I can just put in another unit. A unit of Outriders would be pretty useful. Another unit of Scouts would be pretty useful. I could have another 3 Blade Guard on foot. You know, like, I feel like there's a lot you could do with 85 more points. And yeah, I guess, here's the thing. If you're playing and you're confident that you're going to be able to set up your las cannon Devastators, you're going to be able to shoot with them reliably, and you're not going to need to be trying to move them around. When I was playing las cannon Devastators, it just felt like I was always trying to remove them around. Like, if you've played Predator tanks, if you've played Destructors, or if you've played Ballistus Dreadnoughts, like, if those things got penalty for moving, then they would be ultimately way harder to play, right? And that's how I felt the Devastators were. And then I suppose the other thing to say is, like, Ballistus Dreadnoughts get to reroll hits in the early game pretty reliably anyway, so they feel to me very similar. Is it worth the switch from double Lancer to double Ballistus? I would say double Ballistus as your only fire support is not enough. If you're only going to run 2 Ballistus Dreadnoughts, you do not have enough fire support. You'd probably need to run 3 of them. So that's some feedback, Limekiller. There's nothing wrong with any of the units that you have in the list. Like, all the units, the combos, and enhancements are fine. I think the problem is 12 units, 12 distinct units for secondary sucks. And I've played that at tournament. I went to a tournament, I think, where I played 13. And I was like, oh my god, 13 feels so much worse than 14. So now when I build a list, I'm looking for like 14 units. And like, if you look at like all those Bloodless Angels lists that were doing really well in the meta, like winning GTs and stuff, they had fucking, well, excuse my French, they all had like 20 units in their lists, right? So there's something to be said by having like a lot of cheap units, like Jump Assault Intercessors, Outriders, Scouts. I'm sure there's other things that you can... Blade Guard now, nice and cheap for 380 points. But having a lot of small units, it means that whenever you draw those stupid action secondaries, you're always like, oh well, I got a unit of Jump Assault Intercessors over there that could do an action, or I have a unit of Outriders over there that could do an action. But when you've only got 12 units, it's like, you really don't want to be going like, oh, that 230 point unit of Blade Guard, well, I guess I have to do an action on them this turn. That totally sucks. How does one go about submitting their list for review? You just put it in the comment section at the end of the stream. Simple as that, Donnie. Just in the same sort of text format you're seeing here. Having a hard time against Astra Militarum, recon element stratagems. Any advice, Commander? So I played Astra Militarum recently at a tournament. I played against the Bridgehead detachment, and I found that very, very difficult. I feel like that list with double Impulsor actually helped a lot against Astra Militarum, because they have a lot of like nasty deep strike on you. And then we're not very good at killing tanks anymore. Like Death Company used to kill tanks, they don't. Sanguinary Guard used to kill tanks, they don't. So I think this is why a lot of people are doing like, people are spamming Ballistus Dreadnoughts, Predator Destructors, and Vindicator tanks. So they're spamming enough heavy firepower so that they can weaken things and then charge and finish them off. And I guess if you don't have... Like, if your Sanguinary Guard are going to be charging tanks, they're probably not going to kill the tanks, right? And then the tanks will just fall back and another tank will blow them off the table, right? Like, it's honestly much harder to play Blood Angels without having a good amount of fire support now. Having a Ball Predator and a second Scout unit, yeah, or I mean, that already sounds better to me, Limekiller, 100%. Ball Predators are very good against Guard Infantry as well. When I was playing against that Bridgehead detachment, I wish I'd had a couple of Ball Predators. Alright, Bovine Intervention next is our next list. He's starting off from the data slate with a list called Falcon Punch. He's playing Liberator Assault Group. Okay, so I played a GT last weekend and I was underwhelmed by the range on Vindicator tanks. So yeah, Vindicator tanks range sucks. I usually put at least one of them into reserve every game. And I would say the terrain recently in 10th edition has had like a bit of a shift though, right? Like, because like when I won the GT that I won last summer, I was running double Ballistus Dreadnought and a Predator Destructor, and that gave me like a lot of las cannons and 48-inch firepower. And I feel like 48-inch firepower isn't as meaningful now because the firing lanes are much more condensed, or much more... There's less firing lines. I actually think that's one of the reasons I think Devastators are not as good, because the terrain now is much more dense. There isn't those 48-inch fire lines. So I think Vindicators are more playable than they were last year. I feel like when the World Eaters Codex drops, a lot of Blood Angels players are going to struggle into Angron, Scarbrand, and 2 Bloodthirster meta. Yeah, potentially. I mean, my friend Andrew was playing Angron plus 3 Lord of Skulls, and that was pretty horrific, Stephen. I'm trying to get him on the channel with his Angron plus like Lord of Skull spam, so that'll be fun. But yeah, I mean, again, against World Eaters, I feel like you need to shoot them because they combat better than we do. So if you try and combat them, you will get beaten. So you need fire support in Blood Angels now, and you need... I think that, like, they basically nerfed all the fire support that Blood Angels want to use, right? Like, Ballistus Dreadnoughts nerfed, Predators nerfed, Vindicator tanks nerfed. Those are the 3 units that basically are the meta choices for Blood Angels fire support. Alright, let's... Bovine Intervention. He is running Liberator Assault Group, so we're going to see less characters. We're going to see a captain with Rage-Fueled Warrior. 35 points for that now is bonkers. I'm not taking that anymore at 35 points. Hell, I wasn't even taking it at 25 points. 35 points for an enhancement that potentially does nothing is rough. Gift of Foresight Captain with a jump pack, Mephisto and Dante. Okay, so Assault Intercessors, I mean, that'll be with the Rage-Fueled Warrior inside the Impulsor. No brainer. 3 units of jump pack intercessors. It's very good in Liberator Assault Group. They're a great unit for trading. Makes absolute sense to run 3 units of them. 2 Ballistus Dreadnoughts and 2 Gladiator Lancers. Probably a little bit high in terms of like how many las cannons you have, but 600 points gives you what? 4 las cannons, 4 crack missiles, and then 4 heavy laser destroyer shots. It's a good amount of fire support. It could tangle with some of those guard tanks that we were just talking about. Squad of Infiltrators, 6 Sanguinary Guard, I guess, most likely with Dante. 3 Sanguinary Guard, most likely with the Jump Captain with Gift of Foresight. And then Mephisto's there to do some lone operatives. How many units we got? We got 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12... 13. It felt like more, is that right? 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, Mephisto, 13. Okay, 13 units. I guess the big unit of Sanguinary Guard really skewed some of the points in this list. Wow. It felt like more. I guess maybe it's just the fact that he's got 2 Ballistus and two Lancers. Like, I don't know if I feel 2 Ballistus and 2 Lancers is the optimal way to play. Like, I was going to say no scouts as well. Having no scouts is rough, right? Scouts are just... they're so good. I think in this list I would probably say one of these 4... like... 3 units of fire support seems to be the right number, or at least that's the number I've been running. And I ran 3 when I won the GT. I ran 3 at the last GT, which I was literally like 1 wound away from going 4 in 1 in. And my current angelic host list runs 3 as well. So I think in this situation, I think I feel like if you drop that Ballista Dreadnought and just instantly did 2 units of scouts, this would be better for scoring. Yes, you give up a little bit of fire support, but like you add a ton of scoring potential with 2 units of scouts. One starts on the board, one is off the board. Just you guys wait till I win my second GT. I was about buying a GT ticket for May. What's gonna, like, if I win 2 GTs, are you guys gonna have to take 2 shots every single time I say that I've won a GT? I mean, I did come first in a team tournament as well, right? Like, I've got the trophy to prove it. But scouts are so good. See, when I tried to drop scouts, and I actually tried to drop scouts in a Liberator Assault group list, and the second I dropped the scouts, I was just like, oh my god, I just missed them so much for screening, for scoring, for shenanigans, for they're just too good. So I think in this list we have to get unit scouts in there, and I think one of those 4 fire support units has to go. If you have a Vindicator tank, you could possibly drop like a Lancer and a Ballista Dreadnought, throw in a Vindicator tank. I don't think there's anything wrong with going like Ballista Dreadnought, Gladiator, Lancer, Vindicator tank, add in a unit of scouts, and then figure out like a unit of Outriders maybe, or something like, or maybe it needs to be something cheaper like a Tech Marine. There definitely could be something it definitely feels like there could be something better in this list, right? Like, because I ran Liberator Assault Group to a tournament, and my list didn't look too many million miles away from this, right? And I think I would probably I think I would probably run this, but I think my opinion would just be like, I want the scouts, and I arguably feel like I might want I think it's just the scout. Like, I think you just have to have the scouts. Like, I think 2 units of scouts, because I think arguably you might just want to put the scouts on a midfield objective and keep one off the board, and then you're holding some objectives early game. You're potentially jumping units back off the board, and you're also being able to come in and do actions and stuff like that. He does have infiltrators in this list, doesn't he? Yes. So one scouts and 1 infiltrators are auto takes for every one of our lists and detachments. Do you know what, Quay? I actually think that's a good. I think that's a good. Like, if you're building a Blood Angels list, Liberator Assault Group or Angelic Host, like, start with 1 squad of infiltrators and 1 squad of scouts, because you can't really drop them. You just absolutely have to have both. The scouts are far too good at scoring. The infiltrators are far too good at preventing your opponent getting your home field objective. Like, it's literally that simple. Alright, let's move on. Clint is the next list, and he has been a channel member for 4 years. Clint, thank you so much for supporting for 4 years. I was saying to my wife the other day, I was like, there's a bunch of people now that have been members for 4 years, which is batshit crazy. I super appreciate it, Clint. Thank you for that. So he's going to be running Liberator Assault Group, and he's going to be trying to run Death Company. Cool. I mean, trying being the optimum word, because I think Death Company are going to need some buffs. Why are scouts and infiltrators so important? Because infiltrators prevent anything coming in your side of the board from your opponent, pretty much, because they just have a giant screening bubble. And scouts can be lifted off the board and put down every single turn. So you lift them up and you bring them in exactly where you need to do an action, you do the action, and then your opponent's turn you lift them off the board again. So the opponent can barely ever target them, and they just do actions for the whole game. And like, sometimes, I'm sure I've played games where the scouts have done like 4 actions, and I've scored like 20 points by their own sum, and they're the cheapest unit you have in your army, right? We have 97 people watching tonight. We only got 34 likes on the stream, so please hit that like button at some point. I would appreciate it. Bruin Biscuit says, I'm considering 3 units of 6 Blade Guard after the point drop and 3 Ballistices. Yeah, I'd be interested to see how 18 Blade Guard do, actually. But I don't have 18. I have like 10 Blade Guard. I could be tempted to do like 3 units of 3. But yeah, I'm not. I do think for 80 points they are very cheap. Like that, they literally pick up like a unit of intercessors in one single turn from melee combat. Like, they do a lot of damage for only 80 points in Liberator Assault Group. And hell, they do a lot of damage in Angelic Host as well. So, like, I think they're a great unit for 80 points. I was running them at a tournament when they were more expensive. Like, my tournament list from the last tournament, I guess, has probably got like 20 points cheaper because I was running 6 Blade Guard. Rick says 2x3 Blade Guard and Impulsor, 3 units for 240 points. That's what I was thinking of running that, Rick, because I think that is like, that's 2 really killing units and an action unit, and it's like ablative wounds for those Blade Guard. I like it. All right, Clint's list. He has Astaroth, Speed of the Primarch, Blood Angels Captain, Captain of the Jump Pack, Chaplain with a Jump Pack, and Judiciar. Okay, so Heavy Intercessor Squad. This is 1 battle line choice and a squad of impulsors. Sorry, a squad of impulsor and impulsor. He hasn't said shield on, but I assume he means the shield on should be on the impulsor. We have 2 units of jump intercessors with jump packs. We have 6 Blade Guard. We have 4 company heroes. So the Blade Guard will be with the Judiciar. The company heroes will be with the Speed of the Primarch Chaplain, I imagine. 10 Death Company will be with Astaroth. We've got a single Lancer. We've got an Infiltrator Squad. We've got a single Land Raider and a Vindicator tank. Okay. What's inside the Vindicator tank? Maybe I was going to say what's inside the Land Raider. Maybe it's I don't know. Jump intercessors? Oh, maybe it's company heroes or something. Okay. Maybe you put the company heroes inside the impulsor to get the firing deck, and then you put the Blade Guard inside the Land Raider. So this is similar, right? We just talked about it. 3 fire support units, a Vindicator, a Land Raider, and a Lancer. That's a lot of Strength 12 and Strength 14 firepower. You got the Infiltrators for your home field. You are again missing Scouts, which I really dislike. You've got those Heavy Intercessors, which I guess could also be inside the Land Raider or something. Heavy Intercessors are good for holding an objective, but you might be okay here. There is no Scouts. I think if you're going to run 10 Death Company, I feel like you should just take Lamartez. I think he's the better choice for competitive. You don't have the combi weapon lieutenant, so you've got no way of re-rolling your wounds. So the thing about Lamartez with his lethal hits is you do have a way of re-rolling hits to get lethal hits, right? Death Company get that baked in, and then you can get +1 to wound from a stratagem, whereas Astaroth does give you devastating wounds every time you charge, but if you aren't rolling 6s, you aren't doing a ton of damage because your strength isn't particularly high because you've got a bunch of chainswords. So I feel like if you're going to try and run this, I would try and get Lamartez in there. I think he might be 5 points more expensive, which is a pain in the arse. But again, you are missing Scouts, which I just think I would try and have 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 11. Yeah, and you are low on the number of units you have as well here, which makes it tricky. I mean, I guess when you pay 240 points for a Land Raider, you're going to be low on the number of units, and 240 points for a giant squad of Death Company, you're going to be low on the number of units. So, Clint, this is actually, you have somewhat made this list hard for yourself to play. And I guess the Blade Guard unit is a big unit as well. There's something to be said about, like, you can have some big units. You can. So Liberator Assault Group is something that I ran to a tournament recently. My lag list. Yeah, I'm just gonna quickly look at my lag list to remind myself what the hell it was and how many units I actually had. So when I was at the tournament in January running Liberator Assault Group, this is what I had, right? Captain of the Jump Pack, Chaplain, Dante, so that's 4. 2 Impulsors, that's 6. Assault Intercessors were unled, so that's 7. Ballistus was not led, obviously, so that's 8. The Blade Guard were with the Chaplain. The Company Heroes are with the Captain. We've got the Infiltrators and Outriders, so that's 10. We've got the Destructor, that's 11. We got the 2 Sanguinary Guard, they're attached, and then we've got the Scouts and the Vindicators. So I was running 13. I don't think my scoring was a problem. That is right. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. Yeah, I was running 13. So 13 is doable. I prefer 14. I think my Angelic Host list has 14. I don't know how the hell I managed that with all the characters attached. Did I win with my list? I won 3 games. I lost to Demons by like 1 point. So like I was literally like, he spiked a crap load of 4-up saves. So like I was literally like the whole game, right? Like he apologized, or like I think he literally apologized in like turn 2 because he'd already rolled like 54-up saves out of like 55. It was ridiculous. But I lost that. I lost a game to Demons by like I literally lost by like 1 point. It wasn't 1 point, it was like 6 points. But if one demon had died, I would have like purged the foe and killed more than him, and basically it would have flipped the whole game, and I left like a Bloodthirster on 1 wound. So I went 3-2 with that list. Literally, if you hadn't spiked a bunch of saves, that would have been a 4-1. And then my 5th game was against Bridgehead Detachment, which was like... I actually think I could have beat Bridgehead Detachment if I'd played it before the tournament, because I didn't know half the shit it was going to do, right? And I only lost to Bridgehead Detachment by like 10-15 points or something. And my opponent with Bridgehead Detachment actually ran out of time. So like I let him use my time on the clock for the last minute because I already knew I'd lost. But I suppose like if I'd known what he was doing, I could have potentially won that game as well. So like 13 worked for me. But the scouts were very, very important, very, very valuable. And not having scouts, I think, makes it difficult. And yeah, below 13 out, I just don't do it. I played it in January, so I played it 2 nerfs ago, Bridgehead Detachment. And like I said, if I'd had any practice against it, so I actually I would right after I'd finished that event with that Liberator Assault Group list, I was like, I could play this again. And that list's actually got cheaper in the Balance Data slate. Or has it? Might not have changed. I had 6 Blade Guard in it, so they have got 20 points cheaper. Maybe it's similar. But yeah, this is tricky, right? Like, I would try and run Lamartas with the Death Company. I also really don't like that you don't have scouts. I guess when you put Land Raiders in... My experience with Land Raiders is tough, right? Because it's like... Land Raiders... They're like a stat check for your opponent, right? Like, if your opponent can deal with a Toughness 12 vehicle... Or, sorry, if they can't deal with a Toughness 12 vehicle that's got a 2-up save that can smoke screen and Armor of Contempt, because it can do all those things, right? So if they can't deal with that... Like, I played against Death Guard a bunch of times, and the best thing that they can do is shoot Land Raiders with las cannons. Well, they only wound them on 4s, and they're AP 3, so if my Land Raider has cover, and let's face it, it's pretty easy to get Land Raider cover, because it's like a giant vehicle that you can usually park at least one corner of it behind cover, and then you play Armor of Contempt, then you're basically saving against his las cannons on 3s. And usually I find... people don't have a lot of weight of fire with las cannons. You know, it's usually like, all right, if you think about Death Guard, if they've got 2 Predators, they've got 6 las cannon shots. Well, they only hit on 3s, so they hit you 4 times. Well, they only wound on 4s, so they only wound you twice. And then you've got to make 2 3-up saves if you pay the Armor of Contempt. All right, cool. Well, let's say I fail one of them. That's actually worse than average. I fail one, he rolls his damage, it's like a 3. Cool, my Land Raider's on 12 wounds. You're going to have to do that for 4 turns to kill my Land Raider. Usually by that time, I'm probably going to win the game, right? So, I feel like Land Raiders is sometimes you'll come into an army that can't really deal with a Land Raider, and it will be very, very, very strong. and it'll help you win the game, and it'll be picking up units all game. It can tank shock it, it can las cannon, it can do all that sort of good shit. And then other times you'll play against knights who have like a AP5 volcano cannon, and they'll just one-shot it off the board because the volcano cannon on the knight, what the hell is it called? Knight, it's not the Valiant. Is it the Valiant? It's got, no, I don't think it is. Which knight's got the volcano cannon? It is the Castellan. No? Knight Castellan. Yes. Ranged weapons. Volcano Lance. So he hits you one time on a 2, or on a, sorry. He hits you from 72 inches away. It's strength 18 minus 5. Potentially 8 damage, or minimum 9 damage if he rolls a 1. And it's also got like devastating wounds, shield breaker missiles as well. Minus 6, because apparently, do you remember at the start of this edition when they said this edition was going to be less killy? They literally said that. Yeah, this edition will be less killy. Okay, sure. And then when you got to the knights, you just thought, what's less killy than minus 5? I don't know, minus 6, I guess? Like, why even have minus 6? Like, it doesn't even make sense. Like, the best you can have is a 2-up save. So why have you got minus 6? Minus 6 basically means if you play Armor of Contempt, fuck you still don't get a save. Like, come on. So yeah, you play against Knight Castellan, it one-shots your knight, it one-shots your Land Raider from 72 inches away, and like, you know, so for me, Land Raiders are hit or miss. Some games they're amazing, some games they're not. If you take them to a tournament, you're just hoping you don't run into the guy with the volcano cannon and the shield breaker missile, right? Land Raiders are the obsolete check. Yeah, I mean, it's a stat check. Some people can deal with them, some people can't. Before I went to the tournament, you remember when the Redeemers were a bit cheaper? I was running 2 Redeemers. And I felt like Redeemers were the same thing, right? Whereas, like, some people just could not deal with 2 Redeemers. Like, you just put them into the middle of the board, you flame everything, and if anything moves in the middle of the board, you just flame it for, like, fucking 15 shots. And it was like, okay, like, some armies just cannot deal with these Land Raider Redeemers. And then eventually I played against a Knight player that, like, turn 1 just blew up a Redeemer 72 inches away. Turn 2 just blew up the other Redeemer, like, 60 inches away, and I was like, oh shit, that's like half my army gone in 2 turns, and I didn't even get to roll a saving throw. So, yeah. We're going to move on to Mad Game Dev next. He's also playing Liberator Assault Group. He also has Astrath, a captain with Rage Fueled, a chaplain, Mephisto and Dante. He has Assault Intercessor Squad, an Impulsor. That'll be for your Rage Fueled captain. Assault Intercessor with jump packs, a Ballistus Dreadnought, Death Company Marines on foot, which I guess have gone down in points. Not that I think it really matters. Death Company Marines with jump packs, a Drop Pod, Sangre Guard, a 10-man Scout Squad. Split that Scout Squad up for sure. There's literally no reason to ever run a 10-man squad of Scouts. And a Terminator Squad. Could you review this list? Yes, of course I can. So Astras with the 10 Jump Death Company. The Chaplain on foot, I guess, is most likely with the 10 Death Company on foot. You got Mephisto in there. You got Dante with the Sanguinary Guard, yes. And then you've got the Rage Fuel Captain, the Assault Intercessors, and the Impulsors. And overall, we've got 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10... 11 units, but we can instantly just split those scouts into 2 5-mans, so we can have 12. Okay. One time I played against Knights, and they one-shot 2 Vindicators that bounced off the thing with just 1 Knight. Yeah, I mean, I guess Knights can one-shot Vindicator tanks as well, but it just feels objectively worse when it's like a 240-point Land Raider. Yeah. No, I figured, Clint. I didn't touch too much on your weapon choices. I think your list is possibly fine, but I think the Land Raider makes it tricky, right? Like, for me, I feel like I would much rather a tank and a squad of scouts rather than a land raider. Because, but then here's, like I said, you might come up into matchups where your land raider is your MVP. But you might also come into matchups where your land raider is a bit of a liability. So, yeah, this list's interesting, right? Because we've got a chaplain leading Death Company on foot. I don't think that is a very competitive choice. Not when a chaplain could lead 10 jump assault intercessors and be like points cheaper as well. What's in the drop pod? I assume it's the Death Company Marine with the chaplain, right? I'm actually not really familiar with what can even go in a drop pod these days. Let me see. I think it's just infantry, isn't it? You can just take 10 infantry. So I think he's purposely taken... He's just killed one of his Death Company Marines so that he can put a chaplain plus 9 Death Company Marines. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I think like you could have 10 jump intercessors plus the chaplain and save the 70 points on the drop pod, and I think you're just better off. You definitely want to split the scout squad 100%. Again, you probably want to take Lamartas over Astaroth. I think he's the more reliable choice here. And then I think this list has probably gone up in points, right? Because I think the Death Company Captain has gone up 10, or sorry, the Rage Fuel has gone up 10 points. These guys I think have come down 10 points. So maybe it's the same? Yeah, maybe it's the same. For fire support, you have basically a single Ballistus Dreadnought. So this is... I don't want to say it's the wrong choice to run one single Dreadnought, but it kind of is, right? Because, like, a single Ballistus Dreadnought can do work, right? Like, they could pop out of cover, it can kill a couple of things at long range, it does have rerolls on those las cannons and missiles, it can happen, but if you only have one fire support unit, you're never going to be able to return fire against an enemy that has lots of fire support. If this was me, I think I would get rid of the drop pod. I would get those Death Company Marines out of there and the chaplain and just replace them with jump Marines or jump assault intercessors and a chaplain. Split the scout squad in half, so you've got 5 scouts, and then you'd be like 150 points to the good. You could honestly have another Ballistus Dreadnought. I think 2 Ballistus Dreadnoughts, while it's probably not enough fire support, it's a hell of a lot better than 1 Ballistus Dreadnought. What's a good way to deal with a Redeemer is Blood Angels, Vindicator tanks, Gladiator Lancers, you know, anything that can hit it with higher than strength 12, I guess, right? So you can wound it reliably. I think this is why most Blood Angels players are very much reliant on double Vindicator tank and or like an array of Ballistus Dreadnoughts or an array of Predator Destructors or something like that. I mean, you just don't want to get your infantry anywhere close to a Redeemer. Redeemer, we don't see too many Redeemers in the meta of these days, but yeah, I mean, against like Blood Angel Sangre Guard, they'd be pretty horrific to deal with. So, yeah, I think this list, the Death Company Marines on foot, dude, they're not competitive. You'd be much better off taking Assault Intercessors with jump packs. They do more damage, they're faster, and they have OC, and they don't need a character led. And even if you do lead them with a character, I think they're still better than the Death Company Marines on foot. I think that was something I was going to compare this week, actually, right? Like, sometimes I actually want to do this, even if it's like, sometimes I make videos to get views. I'm sure every YouTuber ever every YouTuber ever has made a video to get views, right? Like, views build your channel, get you subscribers. Sometimes I make videos because people ask me for, but sometimes I make them just because I want to. And I think this week, what I want to make a video of is like 10 jump intercessors, right? Is 160 points. Add on a chaplain with a jump pack. I'm pretty sure he's 75. So that's 235 points. Let me just double check that I'm not going mental. Chaplain with a jump pack. It would be War Gear. No, unit composition. 75 points, right? So 10 jump intercessors plus a chaplain with a jump pack is 235 points. When you charge for that, you will roll 11d6. On every 4-up is a mortal. So statistically, if they make a charge and they finish engagement range, they do 5.5 mortals. And then the chaplain rolls a 4-up to do additional mortals. Statistically, I think he does 1 mortal every time he activates. So this unit statistically does 6.5 mortals and then has like 45 chainsword attacks and about 10 power fist attacks, right? And if you compare that to, like, I don't know, Death Company with jump packs, the ones that are 130 points for 5, and you attach someone like, let's say, is it 130 for 5? Yeah, I think it's 130 for 5, and you attach someone like Lamartas to them to get their -1 damage. I think he's 110.
I have awoken.
They're literally more expensive. And that's 6 guys that don't do any mortals. So I'm going to compare those 2 units, survivability, damage output, and then I'm going to make a thumbnail that's like, YGWY. You know, like, because I'm pretty sure, unless I'm missing something, the jump pack intercessors are about 100 times better. Maybe not 100, but you know what I'm saying. Like, they are way better than this unit. I think in terms of raw damage output, in terms of everything, I think they're gonna be way better. I could be wrong, but I think that's the video I'm gonna make this week. Anyway, I think there's some improvements to be made here, Mad Game Dev. Thanks for submitting the list. But yeah, I think one of the biggest improvements would be probably getting rid of the Death Company on foot. Nobody uses them. They're slow. And yeah, I just don't think they're great. 5 Death Company are not worth leading. Yeah, I think that's probably the point I'm trying to put across, Surfsong. Is 5 Death Company at 130 points are completely unplayable. And we've been saying that they're completely unplayable since the last data slate. But no one is listening. Or nobody cares. I don't know. Both? Both? I don't know. I don't think that the Death Company are playable at all. Hardly. Honestly. Anyway, I'm going to make a video. And maybe if it gets lots of views and people share it with around the place, maybe Games Workshop, we'll do something about that. Anyway, Marte is our next list, and he is playing Angelic Inheritors. He has got Chief Librarian Mephiston. He's got Blood Angels Captain with the Company Heroes. He is a Captain with a Jump Pack, and he is a Chaplain with the Blade Guard. He is a Librarian Terminator Armor to reroll charges out of Deep Strike. I don't think that the Librarian and Terminator Armor... Oh, the enhancement to roll charge... I don't know this enhancement. Hold on. What the hell is this enhancement? Reroll charges out of Deep Strike. In Angelic Inheritors. What the hell enhancement is this? Oh, is it Troubling Visions? I guess, maybe? Not many people take it. Troubling Visions, okay. Reroll. And then the Phobos Lieutenant with the Reavers. Alright, so you've got 6 Blade Guard who are with the Chaplain to get +1 to wound. You've got the Company Heroes with the Captain. Makes sense. You've got 6 Inceptors. You've got 5 Infiltrators. You've got 5 Reavers with the Phobos Lieutenant. You've got 6 Sanguinary Guard. I think Sanguinary Guard are better in this detachment in 3s. Who's leading the Sanguinary Guard? Just a regular Captain of the Jump Pack? Okay. I think they're better in this detachment in 3s, but 6s is fine, I guess. Terminators led by Librarian. Outriders. Ballistus Dreadnought, Gladiator Lancer. So this list is using the old points. So I'm actually not entirely sure if this list would still be valid because Blade Guard went down 20. Company Heroes did go up 10, so he is 10 to the good at the moment. And then Ballistus went up 10. Alright, so I think this list is still valid. 2 units came down 10, 2 units went up 10. So, unit-wise, then we've got 2 tanks, Outriders, Terminators, Sangre Guard Reavers. So that's 6. Infiltrators and Scepters, that's 8. Blade Guard Company Heroes, that's 10. Lieutenant and Phobos Armor is with the Reavers. Librarian is with the thingy. Obviously the Terminators. Mephiston's a lone operative. So this is like an 11 unit list. Which we've talked about in the stream already, that we don't want to be below 13. So this is a little bit worrying. The Phobos Lieutenant D6 move got neutered. They changed it so you can't charge if after you move when you're shooting. Yeah, I was aware of that. That is a pretty nasty nerf to these guys. GW will probably to respond to you with, "You're right, John, we will increase jump pack assault intercessors by 30%. I don't think jump pack assault intercessors are broken. I think that the Death Company Marines are massively overcosted. Like, they're overcosted to the point where, like, I just don't consider them at all, right? Let me do the math, let me do the video this week, and then you can decide. So that'll be the video I'm trying to do for Friday this week. I am finally editing my Dante painting video, but that's taken forever. I spent like a whole evening on it. There was 100 video files. I put 50 of them into a timeline, so I've got like another whole evening of video editing, and then I need to voice over the Dante video. So I'm slowly working on that. No, I appreciate it, Jim. I know you're just making fun of me. It's fine. So this list does not have enough units, I feel like. Was there scouts? Yeah, there's no scouts either. I think scouts are very good in this detachment. I actually think jump assault intercessors are also very good in this detachment, because you can pick them up and put them back into reserve. Because they're a jump pack unit, obviously. So, I think based on this list, I feel like I would probably try and... I might lose the Reavers and their leader, because that's almost 2 units of scouts. Almost. I think... I'd probably actually, like, lose the enhancement for Librarian to give you rerolls out of charges and just commit to rapid ingress those guys. On in Nada, how you doing? Good evening. So rapid ingress to the Librarian Terminators, cool. Drop the Reavers and get in some scouts. Maybe even 2 squads of scouts. If you drop the Phobos Lieutenant, the fire support, like, Inceptors are still so expensive. That's what's, like, a big unit of Terminators, a big unit of Blade Guard, and a big unit of Inceptors are limiting how many units that you have in this list. Which maybe makes it tricky. I feel like I would struggle to play this. Like 11 units feels like it's not enough. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. Yeah, so my Angelic Inheritors list at the moment is looking at 14 units. Or 14 distinct units. And I think 11 distinct units is just low, man. And cursors with a Phobos Lieutenant to tag units and get back into cover. I mean, I probably prefer that than the Reavers now that the Reavers have been nerfed, Michael. It's probably a good shout. But, yeah, the big unit... My experience of Angelic Inheritors tells me small units is the way to go, right? Like, Company Heroes is fine, but smaller units, like the 3 times 3 units of Sangre Guard is very, very strong. And that's why I made that video on Friday talking about, like, if I am going to build an Angelic Inheritors list, I'm starting with, like, 3 units of Sangre Guard led by 3 different characters. And I think that is better than the Terminators, probably. And I think that's probably better than the Blade Guard as well. Because sometimes enemies really struggle with Sangre Guard. Like, some enemies just don't just can't penetrate their -1 to hit, -1 to wound, 3 wounds per model, 4-up save. Like, it's some armies deal with that pretty well, but some armies it's a really hard stat check. Like, orcs actually really struggle with Sangre Guard, because it's like orcs are usually going to be like, hey, we've got a shitload of choppers, but we only normally hit on 3s. Cool, now you hit on 4s. Oh, you only wound on 4s, now you wound on 5s. Oh, you're only AP 1? Well, just Armor of Contempt and save them all on 2s, right? So it's like, so orcs could literally charge a squad of Sangre Guard with 10 guys, and like, you can literally take no damage. Like, they just don't hit reliably enough or wound reliably enough that you would take any sort of meaningful damage. Has anyone played Bricks of 6 in Assault in Angelic Inheritors? I've been hesitant to try. No, here's the thing. I think Sangre Guard are crazy expensive. Like, I actually think they're still overcosted at 130 for 3 or 260 for 6. So I think I think the strength of Angelic Inheritors is lets you run them in small squads, because it builds in a lot of reliability to their hits and wounds. So you can run them in small squads and be meaningful, and I think that is the strength of it. So, I would say, like, the Marte, I don't think I necessarily hate anything about your list, but I would go and watch the video I made on Friday about, like, I think it was called, like, Angelic Inheritors auto-includes, because I think that there's some... I think the 3 small units of Sangre Guard, which was obviously done by Jack at LVO, and it did really, really well, 2 captains and Dante, I think it's really great. And here's the thing, like, I've played Liberator Assault Group, and I've played it to a tournament, and I've played Dante plus 6 Sangre Guard with it to a tournament, and I've charged units with Dante and the 6 Sangre Guard, and I've failed to kill my unit, and then they've, like, I think I charged Salaxi one time with 6 Sangre Guard and Dante, and for whatever reason, it was that Demons game I was mentioning earlier, the guy was rolling 4-ups for days. Dante and the 6 Sangre Guard did not kill Shalaxi, and then she just fights back and kills like 5 models, and I just lost 200 and some points of Sangre Guard in like an instant, and I'm just like, oh my god, that was horrific. So I think Sangre Guard are actually kind of expensive to run in 6s. I understand running them in 6 in Liberator Assault Group, because you want to get the most out, like the +1 to wound potentially in the stratagem, but I also think if things go badly, you're much better off having them in the squads of 3. Jack ran 3 units of 3, he didn't run any unit of 6 at LVO. But I ran a brick of 6 at my GT, and like, I didn't feel great about it. I understood why I did it, but I think I personally prefer running the 3 in Angelic. It's so much to lose when they die, right? Like, it's like 7 models that are only toughness 4, and you're paying like 345 points for 7 toughness 4 models. Like, that is so much to lose, you know, like, yeah, it's rough. It is rough. And in shooting, they're just like, if the enemy gets to shoot them, they're not great. Vintage Flanker, good evening, how you doing, brother? Alright, we're going to talk about Nick. He is running Liberator Assault Group with Jump Assault Intercessors for 1,000 points. I think this is our last list of tonight. He's the chaplain in Terminator armor, who I assume will be attached to a Terminator squad with Chain Fists and Storm Bolters and Power Fists and a Heavy Flamer. A squad of Intercessors for some sticky objectives. Jump Intercessors, a Ballistus Dreadnought, a squad of Outriders, 3 Sangre Guard, a squad of Scouts, and a Vindicator tank. This is a pretty interesting 1,000-point list, I guess. I actually think this could actually be a pretty good 1,000-point list. However, the Ballistus Dreadnought has gone up 10 points, and the Vindicator tank has gone up 10 points, which I guess screws this list up a little bit. And something will have to change. Maybe the Outriders need to become an Invader ATV. Maybe something else needs to change. What was the thoughts behind it? I'm using Liberator Assault Group. I think it's hard to fit characters in at 1,000 points. Plus, I get more enjoyment out of the times when basic units do something. I've also been evolving this list slowly, as you advise. I'm on the verge of losing my Sangre Guard and going bloodless, as last time they bounced off some Votan, even with a captain. I suspect it's because they don't have enough attacks anymore. I like the AP3 and the speed, though. Yeah, I mean, I think 3 Sangre Guard and 1,000 points is actually very good. they are still expensive, but I think they can trade reasonably well. Possibly better in 1,000 than they can in 2,000. It's a fairly uncomplicated plan. Armor shoot things, so I often charge forward. Even the ballistas at 6 at toughness 10, and its melee is strength 8. I think its melee is actually strength 9 on the charge, because it's base 7, the ballistas. Terminators and the chaplains are my troubleshooters, rapid ingress and punching hard with oaths, and advance in charge or being robust with the 4-up and mortal wound protection. Rest of the units are utility. I like intercessors because they're not stuck on the home field due to sticky and people also forget about them. Then you get shot and charged. I mean, intercessors are a lot better now. They get 4 bolt gun shots per guy, right? They also keep hordes honest. Outriders are swing roll unit, either standing off the midfield, doing secondaries, or lending melee weight. I think if I did go bloodless, I'd been the Sanguinary Guard and the Chaplain for Rage Captain, Company Heroes, and Impulsor, but I can't decide what is better. Well, I guess this list doesn't work anymore because it went up 20 points, unfortunately. I don't think Sanguinary Guard, Sanguinary Guard in 1,000 points, I think is totally fine. My worst experience was with a 4-up his opponent as Grey Knight Terminator, making 11 of them in a row. Do you know what? When I won the GT, my only GT win, I had to make 8 4-up saves in a row with Dante to win the GT. And I made them. My opponent didn't love it, but I'd fucked up. I should have won that game earlier, and I forgot to bring a unit back in from Deep Strike because I'm an absolute idiot. And apparently I literally try and sabotage myself for winning my first ever GT. And then the gods were with me and I made 8 4-up saves on Dante or something ridiculous like that. It happens. Sometimes it happens, and when it happens, you just hold up your hand and say, I'm sorry to your opponent, because it does happen. Yeah, I think this was a decent 1,000 point list. I don't think I agree with dropping Sanguinary Guard. Bloodless Angels doesn't exist. It's not a thing anymore. You don't get the +1 to Oath of Moment anymore for ignoring Blood Angels units. Sanguinary Guard are the best unit that we have at the moment. They are the most competitive unit in the Codex. I think you should keep them. I think you have to change something else, though. And I think I would probably lead the Sanguinary Guard just to give them that -1 to wound. So in this case, now that the Terminators have gone up in price, I might be willing to drop the Terminator squad for a second unit of Sanguinary Guard here. And then lead them with a captain with Gift of Foresight, so he can do some mortal wounds or he can survive. Gift of Foresight captain's 100. I think you're 20 points over, so if you drop this, I think you're 20 points over, you would be dropping, so you've got 1,020, you'd be dropping 245. You'd be adding 130. Oh, you're 5 points short of the Gift of Foresight captain. God damn it. You could just add a captain, though. It'd be 1990 points. Yeah, I mean, here's the thing. If you attach a captain to the Sanguinary Guard and you put them in reserve, then when they come in from Deep Strike, you don't have to pay the 1 CP for rapid ingress because the captain can do that for free. So that's probably what I would change here. I would keep everything else the same. The scouts are good. The outriders are good. Technically, if you had 10 more points, I guess if you felt like it, you could upgrade the outriders to unit of jump assault intercessors. That wouldn't be the worst idea. Or you could upgrade that's about it. I guess that's about it. That's about all you could do. But I do like 3 Sanguinary Guard in 1,000 point games. I think they're very strong. Ryan's going to 1,250 point tournament in April, so this is cool to see on stream. Yeah, send me your what you thinking, Ryan. Liberator, Assault Group, or Angelican Host, Angelican Heriter. Sorry, send me your list beforehand so I can give it a review. I must admit, I haven't been to a 1,250 point tournament in ages. Good evening, Pound. How you doing? 1 brick of 6 with Fight First is scary, but it's so expensive. Yeah, I had a I think that's my issue with a 6-man Sangre Guard, is like, it is so expensive, and if your opponent ever gets the jump on it, it's just so difficult to deal with. So like, you kind of, if you're going to run 6 Sangre Guard, I feel like you kind of have to put them in reserve. And then you get, and then here's the thing, so you bring them in rapid ingress, and you need to be able to move them, and make the charge, and kill the thing, and make back whatever they cost, 345 points in that one turn. Because if you don't make back those 345 points, your opponent literally repositions their whole army and guns them down. And like, Armor of Contempt has been, like, Armor of Contempt was good for them before, right? Because it lasted the entire shooting phase. Now it lasts for a single activation. So Armor of Contempt on them is kind of worthless. You're almost better playing Go to Ground, honestly, and getting the cover, assuming your opponent can't ignore cover. There are a lot of rules that ignore cover. But yeah, I think the big squad of 6 Sangre Guard, it's not a liability. It's not. It's still a good unit. It's just much, much harder to play. And if it gets picked off in a bad situation, or if it doesn't trade its full 345 points, then you can be up shit creek, I guess. So that's the end of this week's show. Thank you so much for being here, guys. I do appreciate you guys hanging out every Sunday. If you want to get your list on the show, you know what to do when the stream ends. You can just put your list into the comment section and we'll get you covered. There'll be a tactics video out on Friday. I was trying to get Andrew to come on the channel this week on Wednesday night with his double Lord of Skulls list. Let me message him right now. Double Lord of Skulls. Do you want to play Wednesday? So maybe we can get that on the channel. Because someone was saying, like, I've played Death Guard way too much recently. Yeah, that's fair. If I can't get Andrew, I did beat Orcs. So I've beat Chaos Demons and I've beat Orcs now with Angelic Inheritors. I lost to Death Guard twice by 1 point, so arguably I probably still need to play Death Guard and try and beat them. Hello, Captain America. We are great. I hope you're having a good one. I really want to see that new Captain America movie. I actually want to see Thunderbolts as well. We just don't get to the cinema anymore because my kids are like ages 3 and 5 and it's such a pain in the arse to try and get babysitting. So hopefully it doesn't take too long to come to Disney Plus. I like... I forget what his name is in the movie, but Anthony Mackie. I like him as Captain America. Or I liked him in the Captain America movies. He was running Triple Lord and Angron in the last game. Yeah, I believe he went to a tournament yesterday where he was running Double Lord of Skulls and Angron. And I got a message from him saying that he got bridge-headed. And I was like, oh my god. So he got beat by Bridgehead Detachment. And he was like... his exact words were... I'll read you his exact words. He was like... What did he say? Those scions are so stupid, I had no chance. And I was like, were you playing them pre-nerf? He's like, yes. And I was just like, lame. But yeah, the scions are just ridiculous. They're way too efficient for the points that they cost. We knew that when Bridgehead was announced. I think it finally caught the nerf, but obviously because he was playing at the tournament yesterday or whatnot, the tournament would have been using rules before the data slate. So, alright, have a great evening, guys. Thanks so much for watching. I'll see you sometime this week for a live stream and or tactics video. If you've got a list for the future show, you know where to put it. Have a great Sunday. Thanks again. Peace, good night, evening, all that good stuff.